Tape to Tape. We're doing a special mid-week, mid-series episode after Game 2, which happened last night. Today is May 9th, and we're joined with a couple of special guests to help with a conversation. First and foremost, I'm Caroline. I'm your host this evening, and I'm joined with my regular fantastic co-host, Maria from Watertown. Hey, Maria.
Hello, Caroline. What's shaking and baking today?
I'm just looking forward to tomorrow, not just because of the Bruins game, but because it is Friday for sure. And we are also joined by our favorite Too Many Men friends of the pod. Moe and Adrian are back in because, full disclosure, last night I did miss part of the game. Previous commitment to book club. Go book club. But I wanted to make sure we had a good, well-rounded conversation about what happened last night. So brought in our usual favorites. So, hey, guys, how's it going?
Oh,
It's going. How you guys? Thanks for having
Welcome
us.
in. Thanks for talking a little hockey with us. And it's nice to do it in a face-to-face space as opposed to our Discord.
Finally, right?
Everybody should come in and join, even if you feel like you can't contribute to conversation. Of course, you can contribute to conversation, but you should also just come in to read and watch and laugh. And then next thing you know, you're going to be part of the conversation. So that's my plug for the Discord. So before we dive into what happened last night, one of the final loose ends of round one that I think we all were expecting, nobody was really surprised. The news coming out of Toronto today, and the Maple Leafs are now in the market for a head coach. So Sheldon Keefe has been let go after, I believe, 5 seasons in Toronto, which I was surprised at the length of time that he was there. For whatever reason, I thought he had not been there for nearly as long, but he's stuck around. What are your opinions? Do you think it was just kind of one of those things that when you have a disappointing season, it's just what's done? Do you think there was something specific about him? What's kind of your initial reactions from all of that?
Should I go first? I mean, listen, you can hire and fire as many coaches as you want in Toronto, right? But until you do something about changing your institutional approach to building your team and developing a culture and a sense of leadership, I honestly don't care who you bring in there.
Yeah.
I don't see much changing. And, unfortunately, this is how sports works. You can't go out and fire an entire team because you've signed these players to these crazy contracts and deals. So the natural fall guy is the coach. Now, I don't know enough about him to say, is he a good coach or is he a bad coach? One would think with the abundance of talent that he had available to him, that you would be able to have gotten past the first round of the playoffs more than once during your 5-year tenure. Now, easy for us to say, again, easy for us to say because we have found ourselves in similar situations as well.
Yeah. We're in this based on one bounce, like one bounce the other way, and we're talking about Keith getting
potentially
around our guy maybe being on the hot seat.
Yeah. Is he gonna easily find a job elsewhere? Is he good enough, you think?
No,
I think so.
A guy that I feel like has a lot of depth to him as an individual. Like when you think about like a Sheldon Keefe team, and I'm trying to, I just don't know. Like I don't, you look at him and the guy just screams vanilla to me, and I don't know whether or not.
But is that the culture and the what he had to work with? Or is that him, right?
That could be more like the core, right? That could just be vanilla and boring. I mean, looking at him, he's been a coach since 06-07. Right? Not an NHL coach, but I mean, he's gone through the ranks to go up.
Yeah.
He started in the CCHL, went to the OHL, AHL. He's not a bad coach. Toronto played hard. They played well.
Yeah.
You know, they kicked our ass a few games, so I think he'll get someone. Might be interesting. What's this coaching situation in Utah?
I think people were talking about that a little bit.
Right? Maybe.
Are they not taking? I thought they took all hockey operations.
Could be. I don't know. I haven't looked too much into it, but that might be an interesting.
Well, here's the conspiracy theory I heard on Spit and Chicklets recently, which I think is kind of intriguing. The conspiracy theory is that Kyle Dubas is now in Pittsburgh, and Mike Sullivan is, maybe a little disgruntled. So maybe, Mike Sullivan walks away. He brings Sheldon Keefe in, and Craig Berube winds up getting the coaching job in Toronto. That's their and listen, say what you will about those guys, and I know, I enjoy listening to them. It's not everyone's, flavor du jour, but they're locked in. They've got a lot of connections, in the league. So I know that they've thrown some shit out there in the past, but this is something that sounds a little plausible to me.
Yeah.
You don't think they'll go after Chris Kelly like Ottawa wants to?
Ottawa hired a head coach.
Oh, did they?
They did.
Yes, they did. They did
yesterday. So it'll be interesting.
And San Jose needs a coach too. They've got the number 1 draft pick coming to them. Yeah. So who knows?
It's going to be an interesting off season, not just because of a number of coaching vacancies, right? Like Winnipeg, he retired. San Jose, they still are, I think, planning on building a team around Macklin, just like Chicago is building around Bedard. So it's going to be interesting how everything kind of shakes out. And of course, as Boston Bruins fans, we will be enjoying the schadenfreude of witnessing what happens in Toronto. But this is not a Toronto podcast. It's a Boston Bruins podcast. So let's talk about last night. So, like I said, full disclosure, I was only able to catch the last 16 minutes of the game. I have my opinions on what I saw in the last 16 minutes of that game, which was very different than what you guys saw in the first 40 some odd minutes of that game. Because I'm the optimist of the two of us. Let's talk about what was good, right? Because I think we're all kind of on the same page about the fact that we're just happy to be here. And so let's just ride that wave. And so let's talk about who are we giving stick taps to last night? Why don't you guys go first? Tell us who gets stick taps.
Well, you want to lead?
Yeah, stick taps for what? I mean, I liked Marchand's game. I thought he had a, not scoring wise, but that hit on Kachuk was phenomenal.
Oh, that was nice.
Early on, that just sent him flying. And then the whole Montour 6 goals celebrating in his face, just kind of sticking up for his team. There wasn't really that much to like, I don't think.
Yep.
I mean, maybe the shot blocks probably were the best thing early on, but of course, all our guys got hurt blocking shots.
Yeah, I have a tough relationship with shot blocking. It's like not something you really want to applaud, but it's not great.
No, but a necessary evil this time of the year.
Indeed, but can cost you if you do it too much.
Right.
Exactly. So if I had to pick someone, I'd go with Marchand just for that kind of leadership and stepping up.
Yeah.
I give a stick tap to Coyle for getting his first of the postseason. I'll give a stick tap to the first 18 minutes of the game. Yeah. I'll give a stick tap to Olmark for coming in.
Coming in cold.
He did his thing, but and then he let one in. But
what are you?
It's not easy to be the guy that's like you go in, and he did what he was supposed to do. So give him some acknowledgement.
And wasn't that one like Barkov power play goal just left alone?
Yeah,
Forbert. No, Forbert just left him like out on an island by himself. I'm not quite sure where he was or where he thought he was or what he thought he was doing. So that was That was pretty pitiful. That's in the penalty box, Mo.
I'll give a final tap to everybody on that team that decided that it was in their best interest to create a spectacle so large that what they ended up talking about the next day was not the score.
Yes.
Yep.
You know, I think you bring up a really good point, because it's something that we've kind of talked about throughout the season, where there hadn't been consistency, shocking, in the team kind of rallying around, you know, maybe in the 1 minute it's the captain or someone else, you know, that physicality of the game, right? We've talked about that a couple of times, where somebody is getting a little bit roughed up, and there would be instances where fellow teammates were not coming in to defend their fellow teammate. And what I saw in those final 16 minutes was a circus. But what I'll say is, it was good to see every level of personnel stepping in and kind of taking on that responsibility to say, like, no, we all are going to protect ourselves no matter who we are, right? Like, you want to talk about, of course, we're all expecting Marshy, and I don't remember who he ended up getting kicked out with, but
Montour. I think that was the whole Montour thing. Yeah.
But then to also see the likes of David Pasternak. Now, I have opinions on the fact that someone like Matt Tkachuk went after and agreed to a fight with someone like David Pasternak. Like, you need to be having those disagreements with people in the same class as you. And like, for someone like Tkachuk to go and agree to a fight with David Pasternak, I mean, I got opinions on that, but I think that said something, right? Like, to your point, Adrian, that people aren't really talking about the fact that the Bruins lost 6-1. They're talking about the fact that both benches ended up with half the number of players by the end of the night, because the Bruins were not going to take it lying down in spite of that score. And I don't know about you, and maybe this is just recency bias, but I don't remember a postseason where I felt like the poor job of the refs made such a massive difference to the game. I mean, that kind of ending only happens when the referees do not have proper control over the game, because they get to that point where they're like, both of you just go, because we can't finish the game because you're just going to keep poking at each other. But that happens because the referees are not properly officiating the game.
Well, it started early, where it wasn't like little stuff, but they would call ticky-tacky stuff on Boston, and you would see the obvious, and it would just go. And it's been like that the whole postseason, though.
I need to ask you guys this.
The whole time.
When did the Florida Panthers turn into some kind of, like, fucking hockey royalty in the league?
Well, it was after.
I don't understand this. I just don't understand this, that they are allowed to continuously display rat behavior. And it goes either unnoticed, unpunished, or both. And you know what? As players,
I would add applauded to that as well.
Applauded for it.
But I would say applauded as well.
And right.
Applauded by the media.
By the media. Right. Oh, look at how hard they play. Look at how tough they are. There's tough. And, listen, every team has a rat on their team. And if you don't, you would love to have a rat on your team. But when it is a mentality and a culture that's, continuously perpetuated, and it becomes, some type of, iconic, oh, look at how these guys play, we need to model our game after that. It's just such bullshit. It's just such bullshit. And which I would be fine with it if the standard was the same for the opposing team, but it's not.
It's not.
And I'm not just talking about the Bruins.
Right. It doesn't feel like it is, right?
Right.
Maybe we have a little bit of bias, But I think if you watch it almost without that bias, I think you would still think that there is that bias for the one team, which is usually against Boston. And if you listen to the media or the announcers, when there's almost a goal scored by Florida, it's always what a great play by Florida, not this great save or this great thing.
Right.
If I'm thinking correctly, the Coyle goal, everybody was kind of quiet. And then the Florida goals, they're like freaking out about how amazing they are.
Right.
You know, so it makes it frustrating. And there's almost that's why everybody kind of hates Boston, because the media plays into that. And it's got to stop.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw it in the previous round when how many people on national TV were openly pro Leafs?
Yeah.
Look,
even Biz.
I mean,
that's people that don't understand the game too.
Right. And like the thing is, what people, I don't know if they may or may not realize this, but like especially when it comes to, again, the Leafs, if you are pro Leafs and you're coming out and you're talking about how much you love the Leafs, what you are saying without saying in words is how much you hate Boston.
Yep.
Right? Because that's what that means. If you're a Boston fan or a Leafs fan and you stand in front of everybody and say, I'm a Boston fan, it means you hate the Leafs and you hate the Habs, right? If you're one of the two of them and you say, I love Montreal or I love Toronto, you are also saying at the same exact time, I hate Boston. So they kind of set it up. And then, of course, you know, you watch these guys and they're trying to be funny and silly with their jokes to endear themselves to the audience who may or may not be casual hockey fans. And so they're like, well, I love that guy, so of course I'm going to be pro Leafs. Fuck Boston. Like, come on. Right. And here we are, because this narrative has been set up about Florida that it's bizarre. It's like they're simultaneously expected to win, but then are also the underdogs, even though Boston is the underdog, which I don't understand, because if you look at the whole year of 82 games, Boston owned Florida. So, I mean, I said that in the previous pod, like, I don't understand how it is that Boston is being perceived as the underdog here, when, if anything, they should be considered a fair match, but they don't. But Florida also doesn't play the game in a way that I find personally respectful to the game of hockey. Like, these guys should be embarrassed, because it's like they're using these circus tricks to beat Boston instead of playing the game. Because in my mind, you pull that crap that, you know, Montour and Kachuk and all of those guys pull, because you're not good enough to actually beat the team.
That's it.
Through true hockey talent.
That was the thing I was going to say, and you just said it, Ned. That you nailed it. You do that shit when you are trying to find a way to win. But Florida is good enough to win without doing that. And if you take the entire team of Florida and apply it to the career of Brad Marchand, it is the same narrative. He did that stuff years ago and earned a reputation for it, because he was trying to earn his place in the league. And now he's a good enough player that he doesn't need to do it anymore. So they are, you can either be a very good team that is favored in a series, or you can be scrappy, you know?
Right.
And you can do both of those things in the interest of winning. But I don't like that Florida's still considered favored and scrappy. Doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Doesn't make it. And this and this is why it's imperative when the Bruins get an opportunity on the power play. It is imperative that they capitalize on it, because you know, we've stated the case about them, you know, being some type of, again, hockey royalty or hockey darlings, so that they're not being sent to the box with the same frequency that maybe we're going to be sent to the box. So when you get those opportunities, you've got to, you got to capitalize, guys. You've got to put the puck in the goddamn net.
You got to make them fucking pay.
You gotta, I mean, that's how you make them fuck. You're right, Mo. That's how you make them
fired up
think
tonight.
about the shit that they're pulling. No, we are fired up, and you know what? Right.
But that's the thing, right? Like this is kind of a theme that we've seen that goes beyond Monty. It goes deep into the run that Cassidy had as coach, right? Where we kind of jokingly talk about it in the Discord about it's up, the hockey gods are mad at us again because how many times, is somebody going to hit one off the post or they miss an open net or it just doesn't quite, the puck doesn't quite flip up in the way that we need it. Like, the number of chances that we consistently see from this team is great, right? The chances are great. The actual execution of being able to get it into the back of the net, it seems like it's just been a curse from the gods forever, right? It doesn't matter who's coaching behind the bench. And for me, and I want to hear if you guys have a different opinion, that's just, it seems like that's just how it is for Boston. Doesn't matter who, like I said, doesn't matter who the coach is. Like this, for whatever reason, if it's the players or what, I don't know, if somebody angered the gods in some way. What I'm more concerned about is, okay, how are they going to mentally respond both in game, shift to shift when that happens, and then from game to game, because that is what's going to get them through it, even if it doesn't convert for them, right? So like, we clearly last night was one of those nights. There were tons of chances, right?
Lack of finish. It's a lack of finish. It's been a lack of finish that has bitten the Boston Bruins in their asses for, the last handful of years. And, you had 3 opportunities, prime opportunities in the first period after Charlie Coyle scored that first goal. Marchand misses on an open net. Peter misses on an open net. Charlie Coyle rings one off the top pipe. Crossbar, off the pipes. So it's those types of things that even if just one of those goes in, it can change the potential trajectory of the game.
Quite true.
Yeah. I've said it to my parents. I'll say it again. I think the Bruins have too many passengers on this team.
Explain.
Guys that so you get little spurts out of, but not effort the entire game, right? You always see you'll see DeBrusk, right? DeBrusk is skating constantly. Even Boquist. I don't think he's had a good last couple of games. I think Boquist is probably fighting something, but I won't say his name. You guys know what I'm talking about. But JVR hasn't had that, like that next gear where he's been going for it. Braz is starting to get there, which is nice. Freddie is not there for me. I need someone to take a 45-minute show and tell me why Freddie's good. We'll deal with him later.
That's a summer episode.
Yeah. And the first you get there with your PowerPoint presentation, and
don't worry, I'm working on it.
Good.
But there's guys that are just watching too much of the play and not creating plays. You need more guys like Marchand was when they won the cup that are almost too selfish and go hard to the net. We need Costa to shoot. You need Zaka to shoot. We got to stop. Even if the shots are blocked, that'll injure guys or give them the bruises so they don't play. We need guys to hit more, be more physical, shoot harder. Just take a slapper if the guy's standing there. Shoot it at his head. Who cares?
You're leaving one guy out of that, and Adrian and I probably have plenty to say about this guy, right, Adrian?
We'll get there. I have a point. I
already said my guy.
So what Mo had said, and all of you, that for all of the empty nets that we missed, Florida has like twice as many.
Yeah. Well, that's really.
There were so many
that makes you feel a little
on
better.
Florida where I was like, oh God, that we, that's a good one, because the game could have, and I try to take those with a grain of salt, because if a puck's on edge, you're not going to get it where you want it to go. It was there, but you don't have it.
That was the Marchand.
The Marchand one,
that fucker was bouncing.
It was bouncing, and he wins the prize for, I'm going to get as close to a zero angle shot as I can, because our team really seems to like to go, if I can get this in from behind the net, that's my goal for the season. Yeah. But he didn't have it. And who was it? Beecher? Like, he got a stick on it, but he was too close. He was too close.
Yeah, he got too close
about
to the
it.
net.
And this goes to the second point that Caroline made, is that, like, you're going to get those chances, and a bunch of them aren't going to go in. But can you focus enough to keep doing it? And we lose the focus, and Florida doesn't.
Right.
Yep.
And that speaks to Moe's comment about passengers. And I would agree with that. I also think that there's 3 parents on this Discord. And there are times where you go and say, hey, can you go put your shoes on? And they're like, right. And then like 5 minutes go by, and they're like, what? Sorry, what? And on national television, we have seen Marchand smack his stick on the ice during the timeout and be like,
put your goddamn shoes on.
You know? Yeah. So like we got a whole team off their meds right now. And just sort of skating around, not really being like, wait, what are we doing right now?
Yeah.
Teeth, right. And then they'll walk right past the bathroom and go into their room and do like whatever. And that's sort of our team. And we love them because they're cute. But like they also piss us off a lot. Anyway, let's talk about McAvoy. Maria, you want to talk about McAvoy?
Well, let me ask super quick, because one thing I don't know if this is gonna make me feel better or make me feel worse. So obviously we have those games where, again, I just chalk it up to the hockey gods, right?
Yeah.
So in the previous pod, I had said, watching that whole game and watching Bob, that he was beatable. And I don't know if it's that the team could see it and that helped motivate them to stick with it, you know, mentally and emotionally, to just keep going and going and going, because they knew that it eventually something would go in. What was your take on Bob last night? What, like, if they'd
I think he's still beatable. I don't know. You guys can disagree. I think he's still beatable. I think he's fighting the puck a little bit.
If they'd stuck with it mentally, could they have still gotten, it's not that he was better necessarily.
You can apply that to the 2 Toronto games where we had no shots. Whatever it is, I don't know why we're not getting shots.
Yeah.
But you can't, let's say, like, you know, let's Madden this. You can't score if you don't shoot.
Right.
You are not going to win a game.
Yeah.
And I'm no expert, but you are not going to win a hockey game if you only get 3 shots in 22 minutes of play.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're
just not going to win.
Yeah. Weren't they like shotless in 10+ minutes again or something?
Oh,
start the third or something
almost 15 minutes. Almost 15 minutes.
20, because it went. I heard them say how they were shotless in the second half of the second and the first half of the third. So they were effectively shotless. Like when I turned this game on, they had 12 shots on goal.
Yeah.
I was like, that's horrific.
And we have to give some credit to Paul Maurice, because when he saw that, you know, the Bruins did have some additional fight and push in their game, he made some changes to his lines.
Yeah.
And that caused some matchup problems for the Bruins.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think when he made those changes in the second period, and then you give up a back-breaking goal with 0.3 seconds left in a period.
Classic.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
so, you know, you bring up coaching, and don't worry, Adrian, we'll get to Chucky. Don't worry. I don't know if we want to talk about Chucky.
We have plenty of time.
He's got plenty of time himself.
Yeah, right. So last week we put our coach, we gave him the stick taps, right? Because he did do some things that were monumentally positive for Game 7 for the Bruins in those coaching choices, and then also continued making some really excellent coaching choices in the first game by calling that timeout in the middle of the game, right? Which is like really unheard of. I mean, it happens, but what are your thoughts on how he was handling and managing the game yesterday, and what is your opinion on the timing of the goalie pull? Because before you dive in, one of the things that I have talked about on the pod, and I know we have kind of discussed in the Discord, is part of the reason why you do still want to give Linus Ullmark an opportunity to play a game isn't because like, oh, yeah, Sway's hot. Yes, of course, he's doing his thing. But when you find yourself in an emergency situation where you got to bring another goalie in, you have now left Linus Ullmark in a position where he is now very cold. So you got to be really careful about how you get him into game action, right? So thoughts on Monty's overall coaching approach and decision around when he made the switch. What do you guys think?
Maria, you want to go?
Yeah.
I'll go first.
Okay.
So
You got thoughts.
Yes, she does.
I always do, and I always say whether they're right or wrong, I'm just gonna talk. I don't, I was not surprised that he made the change. What I was surprised is that he waited until there was another goal let in and then pulled him.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have a school of thought regarding that. So one could say, why didn't he just send Linus out there to start the third period and pull Sway? Yeah. My school of thought is, and far be it for me to defend Jim Montgomery, but perhaps in doing that, he was sending an additional message to his players that said, listen, this guy's been busting his ass for us the entirety of the playoffs, carrying us, and you guys are giving him nothing to the point that I need to pull him from a game where virtually all that had gone wrong was not on him. Mm-hmm. And for Linus, he has said on more than one occasion, I'm going to be ready. I need to be ready when I'm called into action. Mm-hmm. Those are my.
So are you in favor? Do you feel like you should have started him in the third, or were you against leaving him in?
I would have preferred, I think, having Linus start in the third.
Okay.
Just from a cleaner standpoint. Mm-hmm. Even if it's just for Linus. For Linus's sake, right? Because again, he's been sitting there. But, in Montgomery's defense, Linus has said in the media, right, when asked, I just need to be ready to go when I'm asked to go. Mm-hmm. 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 Whether it's the start of a period, the beginning of a period.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you thinking about how Swayman has performed over the last 8 games, 7 games at this point. How was his game and how did Ullmark look in your opinion? I don't know, Adrian, what do you think? How did the goalies look last night?
I don't think any of those goals were on Swayman. Mm-hmm. Although I have heard the comment that he should have passed to Forbert, which is not something I got caught in the game. But on retrospective,
interesting.
I saw it that like he had Forbert clean on the other side and he opted to pass to Wotherspoon. I don't know whether or not that was the one that Chucky whiffed on the clear. But it was 30 seconds before that happened. But that was the thing that I was looking at because I was still mentally griping about it. And then I was like, oh, good, we got it out. No, wait, no, we didn't. Never mind. It's in the back.
Oh, no.
But then the other two, I mean, I honestly think that it literally like half of the goals were Chucky had direct involvement with. But that pass notwithstanding, he was fine. And literally seconds before that period ended, I had just typed into the Discord, okay, we got out of the period. Let's regroup. Yeah. And then it went in. I think the idea of putting Ullmark in to start the third is a interesting and probably valid take when viewed in retrospect. Mm-hmm. But down 3-1, I still feel like that game was somewhat gettable if the rest of your team wakes the hell up. And they did not. And so then you can go back and go, well, optimally, Ullmark probably could have started the third period. That kind of sends a better message to everybody. But I kind of put myself in Monty's shoes and go, guys, come on. We were like a second away and we're down 2, and down 2 is not out.
No, absolutely.
Sway's playing fine. Everyone tighten the game up, get out there. But, again, that leads to discussions about how much they even had in the tank and how Florida had just decided that they were not going to lose a game. And, it's folds. It's like it all kind of comes together. But certainly if you were going to write this story, you would say, Mark would come out in the third because that sends a clearer thing. Yeah. But I kind of felt going in, it's like, all right, guys, you got to wake up. Because they're coming.
I almost feel like Monty thought maybe it wasn't a winnable game, seeing what was the breakdowns, some of the mental mistakes that were being made, and we'll get to all of that in the penalty box. But to your point, Adrian, even the pass that you referenced with Swayman, giving it to Wotherspoon as opposed to Forbort, again, maybe a little mental fatigue.
They're probably tired. Certainly, they've been playing a hell of a lot more frequently and in a lot more emotionally intense games over the last 10 days than Florida has.
Yep. I mean, look, Florida was stiff in game 1, and we were coming off the high of a game 7.
Yeah.
I was shaking my head quite a bit in the aftermath of the takes on Tuesday morning when they're like, Bruins in 6. And I was like, you guys are out of your mind.
No,
that's not going to tell the story of this series. Like it almost is one of those things where you got a person that's like really big and a person that's like a little bit smaller, and they're about to fight. And they're like, the guy just throws a punch and gets a good clean one, like right in the face.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I'm going to win this. And you're like, no, dude, no. They're just going to be all right. That was fun.
Not that easy.
Good luck.
And I think Florida came back and we ran out of gas, and those two things happened at the same time. Moving forward, it's 1-1. We should not overlook the fact that it was 6-1 last night, but it was 5-1 on Monday. This series is even. And the story of this is
literally
who comes out of last night's game more pissed off.
Right.
And that's going to determine how this series goes.
I think we need to see both these teams on a quote unquote level playing field.
Exactly.
Right. They Florida got their bad out on Monday night. Hopefully the Bruins got their bad and ugly out last night. And we're starting from a clean slate on Friday night.
Although our bad usually lasts two games, maybe.
Remember in the previous.
Who the hell asked you, Adrian?
I don't know why I'm here. You keep having me back. Okay.
Mo, I'm going to talk to you now.
For the sunny take, let's go to Mo. All right. How do you?
Yeah, right. He is
right.
the one of us from the Midwest, so he's going to have a sunnier disposition than the rest of us.
All right. Well, first of all, that fourth goal was icing.
It totally was.
I just watched it.
Yeah, it was icing. I know. No. It was icing.
Yep.
Listen, can we all agree on one thing? The NHL officiating sucks.
Yeah.
From top to bottom.
Yes. Because I'm watching
penalty
it.
Box, they're not even going into the penalty box. That is a 10-minute game misconduct. You're going straight to the dressing room.
I know.
Like awful.
Well, the
I don't know
Maroon
if they're all
thing.
brand new.
The Maroon thing that started it, he got an extra 2 for roughing.
Yeah.
Which was nothing.
By doing
this. Talking.
Right. That started everything. So
it did.
Fourth goal is icing. It got waved off by the lines person that was right there staring at it, thinking, I guess the Bruin tipped it. But then, whatever, that's all fucked up.
Yeah.
I would rather lose these games where the Bruins look bad than where the Bruins actually look good.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there is that where this wasn't Boston's best game. 12 shots in 2 periods.
Right. You can't blame that on anybody but the Bruins at that point.
That's not coaching, I don't think, as much. That's
all
not players going. Right. So Boston has, I guess, home ice advantage, right?
No, they don't.
Well, that's what.
You mean
kind of now, right?
In both ways, no. Don't they stink it?
They're going to adjust the lineup.
Damn it! Just we're gonna get some power plays and we're not gonna score, and we're gonna win some other way, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly don't think the Bruins are down and out.
No.
I don't know how many
series split.
Yeah, I don't know how many of us. Well, we were 4-0 in the season series, which gives you a little bit of hope.
Yes,
we're still a good team. Hopefully, Heinen will come back soon. I think that will help somebody. That at least might let them shift the lines a little. I don't know how much Monty shifted the lines in the game.
Yeah.
This is probably one of those games I would have liked to have seen him shift some stuff around. Right? We always got pissed off at him during the season, and now he doesn't do it. And it's like, why don't you do it?
We're never happy.
No. But you know what? In a game like,
we're never happy.
If I got into Monty's head, and if I'm in his head, and you're seeing the the breakdowns, and the lack of a skating game, the lack of energy, don't you say to yourself as a coach, it doesn't matter who I put with who anymore.
Oh yeah.
Tonight, it just doesn't matter tonight.
Yeah.
Not that you're waving the white flag, but from a coaching perspective, you have to. I would think that thought process comes into your head. That you've got pretty much everybody out there. I will say that I thought Brazeau's game was still good. I thought he,
and he's coming back.
He's coming into his own. And Mason Lohrei, the more he plays, the more confidence he gets, and it's not going unnoticed. In the broader NHL network about this kid.
Yeah,
he was on the power play too, which I don't remember seeing. Right?
They started him on the power play last game. He's quarterbacking a power play.
Yeah, I don't need to see Matt Grzelcyk. Period. End of story. But I will ask this question of all of you, since we're talking about the defensemen, and what we're hoping to see in Game 3. Do you think Shattenkirk draws back in solely for
power play?
The power play?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought he was playing well. I don't think we need Forbert because we have Spoon.
I was not impressed with Forbert last night. But again, I wasn't impressed with anybody last night, other than the two guys I mentioned, and of course Sway. That's just a given.
I guess
it depends entirely on that's the strategy that Montgomery has to pick, right? Either make the assumption that Boston is going to be constantly on the PK, in which case you need to choose the defensemen who are going to be your best penalty killers, or it's the gamble. Do we pick the guy who's part of a key power play unit and hope that we get some power plays and then use that as a way to get the edge in? Which do you choose?
I would assume that we have not seen the last of penalties.
Yeah.
I feel as though we are going to be, I feel like we will be on just as many power plays as we are on PKs.
Right.
I am for whatever option limits McAvoy's minutes. And if we can put Shattenkirk out there and take McAvoy off the power play and have him sit his ass down for a little while just so we can stop bleeding, I would be okay with that.
Do you think Jim Montgomery has the cojones to do that with the quote unquote franchise defenseman?
I think you got to look at it and go, dude, you're spent. Like,
he looks tired.
He looks tired.
That's why he's making mistakes.
I go back and forth as to whether or not he's got a nagging injury that's distracting him. And I will say something, and it's only because of the way I remember watching this happen, and it's not because I'm making light of the situation, but I remember Savard when he came back. And it's like, dude, there's decision making that's not happening. We find out later on that he was dealing with concussion stuff. And I don't know whether or not McAvoy is rattled to a point where choices he's making just are a second behind, or he's just not where he's supposed to be. And whatever it is, he's a bit of a liability for the amount of time he's on the ice.
Right.
But I also think that the longer you keep him out there, the worse he's going to get. McAvoy doesn't need to find his game. He needs a nap,
He's brave,
and then we can talk about how well he's doing after he's a little rested. But like,
I don't think he's injured. I don't think he's injured. No, I don't think he's injured. I think
tired.
he's been and we talked about this
30 minutes,
Caroline, very early on, right? And I brought this up when I've called the AT&T hockey show, where it was midway through the season and we were getting close to thinking about, what's referred to as load management. And I raised this concern about him and Brandon Carlo and Hampus Lindholm with the amount of minutes that these guys, extraordinary minutes that these guys were logging, and whether or not there would be a potential for it to, come back to haunt them or fatigue them. And I suspect that's what's happening with young Mr. McAvoy. I also think that, he's alluded to this in an interview too, where he's being asked to do a lot more and take on a lot more responsibility. And maybe some of that is, playing the role of mentor to Mason Lohrei. And is that too much for him at this point in time? So we're wanting him to be the stud defenseman that, we've been told he can be. We've seen snapshots of it, but now he's, playing alongside a kid who, and we've said it, he's scary, but he can be effective, but he can still be scary.
Right.
And so maybe he's trying to do too much. And I know I'm soft soaping that right now, because I've been on this kid's ass for weeks now. We see pockets of it, but we don't see enough quality behind the quantity that he's sucking up on the ice right now.
And also I would add consistency to that too. And to be clear, I don't think that he's like nursing a concussion. I'm just looking at I'm looking at the level of choices he's making, and they are either being made by someone who is exhausted and is making bad choices, or is hindered in some other way leading to that. Because the amount of like the goal where he was just sort of standing in front of Swayman, that's like
not taking the shot when it's so obvious.
Block the friggin' shot for your goalie.
Yeah, or drive a play where you don't have it. Like I would rather him just say, "Look, we got a former forward who's now playing defense. Who, if he doesn't blow a tire, is skating rings around everybody."
Yeah.
So, like, let's just let this guy go. I'm going to play defense for a little while and let you figure all this shit out. But he's doing too much, and he's not doing any of it well. So
that's why,
as they love to say in the corporate world,
as I paint with a broad stroke, he's doing something.
He's hitting a bandwidth constraint. Because that's the thing, right? Like, he's playing insane minutes, like insane minutes. And he's a young guy. Well, he's 26. No. I mean, come on. It's all downhill after 22. Let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're putting the mantle of leadership, formal mantle of leadership on him, right? We don't know what that means behind the scenes, but it means something. It doesn't just mean you get a letter on your sweater. It means something. There's stuff you do. And he's being mentor to this baby out on the ice. Like, there's a lot going on for him. And he's been playing every single game, and he's not had a break. And how many games this regular season have we seen him flirt with 30 minutes? Like, that's insane.
Right. Well, when's the last time you saw Charlie McAvoy throw like one of his, textbook just killer hits that can change the?
Yeah, he had a good one last night. I think he kind of missed the guy a little bit, but before that, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So, would you guys rather see Lohrei and Lindholm flop, where you got Lindholm and McAvoy playing together, and let Carlo kind of mentor Lohrei? Because didn't Carlo get his start with Chara? Right?
Wasn't he did.
Carlo playing with Chara? So maybe
I only remember Chucky with Chara.
I remember Carlo with Chara, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember
Carlo
that.
played alongside Zdeno Chara for early on in his career, and then it reverted to McAvoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So would you rather?
And that might be a better situation, just because Brandon Carlo seems to me more of a steady, stay-home defenseman.
Yeah. Well, he's a defensive defenseman for sure. Yes. He's a different kind.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I see Charlie more like, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but we'd all like to see McAvoy more like Adam Fox.
Yes.
I think there's that constant comparison that
they're always
like, they're just waiting for him to take that on. And it's like, okay, but he's 26 years old. Granted, defensemen tend to mature at around 28. So he's not there yet, but like, maybe there's this expectation that he is to be this thing that maybe he's not meant to be.
Right. And maybe I think he's great defensively. I think he's really good defensively. He's physical. He's strong. He's good in his own zone. So let him play with Lindholm, who is better being that rushing defenseman. Yeah. That's what Lindholm is good, is when he carries the puck up. The teams actually give him space in the neutral zone, and he can go and carry that puck in and create offense. And then you have McAvoy.
And listen, if we're going to be critical of the core and the big name players on this team, which we have done in previous episodes and throughout the course of the season, he can't be immune from that. I'm sorry. He cannot be immune from it. Yeah. And you have the potential, he has the potential to be a game changer. Yeah. And he needs to start playing up to that potential.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and quite frankly, maybe we need to be resetting expectations, Again, I work in the corporate world, so let's circle back and reset those.
What are our expectations at this point?
So can we reset his contract then too?
His contract's not.
Look, at least we don't have 75% of our budget going to 4 guys. So we got that going for us.
I feel like you gotta recognize when you're working a guy too much. And I understand that maybe mentoring a guy is a lot, but figure that out later. It's the postseason. Yeah. I think that you can see a guy who's out there suffering. And if you're going to argue whether or not it's a good time to pull an effective goalie, to put in a different guy to just, take the load off it, you got to be able to look at a defenseman and go, yeah, dude, you're like 5 minutes from dying. Yeah. So maybe we help you out. And I would like to see him, if it comes down to having the balls to take the franchise defenseman off the power play, I would rather see like Lowry out there for just a bit, because Lowry is better, seems to be okay right now driving and quarterbacking a play.
Yes.
Whereas when the puck comes to McAvoy on the power play, and it's driving me nuts all year, you can quote me on this, Caroline, months ago, he's got to take 4 or 5 sweeps with it. What's his face? Subban was saying, he called it dusting it off, which I loved. But like, he literally, if he just shot it or did something with it, but he literally is like, everybody, you say I got the puck now? Okay, now let's see what I'm going to do with it. Right. A chance to see that I have this puck. Am I going to shoot it? No, I'm going to pass this to Pasta.
Right. Well, and Lowry, I wouldn't be surprised if and their age gap is enough where I wouldn't be surprised if in 3 years, 4 years, you start to see Lowry really take on truly the mantle of what I think that everybody wanted to see from Chucky in being that extremely offensive defenseman, because I think that Lowry is naturally more of an offensive defenseman than Chucky is. I think Chucky is a solid defensive defenseman and maybe is trying to be this thing that everyone's like, you should do this. You should be this thing.
He's like, I'm a defenseman, but I'm also a power forward. And it's
right.
Like, no. Pick one and do the other one sometimes.
Right. And I could see in a number of years, Lowry surpassing him in that capability.
Yes, and that one capability.
Agreed.
I think that let's play to each other's strengths and try to make it so that McAvoy doesn't drop dead on the ice.
Yeah.
And I think Monty himself, kind of in a soft and gentle manner, as he did with Pasta, called out Charlie McAvoy in his commentary. And, I'm paraphrasing, basically saying, he had a rough night. He needs to be better, but everybody needs to be better. So, maybe there will be some underlining motivation from that tomorrow night. And again, this isn't a, let's beat the crap out of Charlie McAvoy, but it has been something that has been noticed. It was noticed during the Toronto series, and now it's continuing on into this series, and it needs to be talked about.
Yeah, exactly.
And for me, I don't need McAvoy to be a power play specialist.
Nope.
He can just be a 5-on-5 load eater. It's fine. You got Lori, you got Shattenkirk. You're going to have people come in later.
Yeah.
Right.
He's decent on the penalty kill. I think he can play it a little bit, right? I think he plays penalty kill some, but you got Carlo who can penalty kill, Spoon who can penalty kill.
Yeah.
You can rely on those guys. Let McAvoy take over the 5-on-5, where I think he actually does much better than power play. Usually that power play is stagnant because he does stuff the puck
very
off.
stagnant.
He does just hold it.
Yeah.
And it gets frustrating. It's a bad look. So just, it's fine. We don't care. I don't think the fans care. All we want to do is win. Whatever helps us.
We just want to win. It doesn't matter.
That's all we fucking want.
He was playing that role when we didn't have alternatives. But now it seems as though
we've got
we do.
choices.
We've got some choices there.
Yeah.
And it says a lot for me to be saying put Lowry on the power play when
I know you were the most terrified of them all.
Because he's a goddamn liability in that. But he hasn't. He only did that once in the last couple of games. So I'm like, good. PK1, go. You're in.
Oh yeah. So it's
once a game. That's okay.
So thinking about tomorrow, because I want to start to wrap things up here.
Oh, we can.
I know. We can talk forever and ever. And if everybody likes this conversation, like I said, join us in our.
We haven't even talked about fight night.
Well,
it felt like the Dallas Stars game of like 2011. There were like 4 fights to start the game, or one of those old Montreal Canadian games.
Yeah, there weren't there like 2 goals right away, and then the gloves were dropped. I mean, I didn't even get to my seat in the balcony, and I missed 2 goals and fights.
Well, I have a feeling we'll have more opportunity to talk about fight night, because last night wasn't the only night. But
I thought the Bruins were going to come back because there weren't enough players on Florida.
I know.
I know.
Some team was going to have to forfeit.
Yeah. They basically only had enough guys.
Your worst people.
Right.
But I do just have to get this off my chest, though, related to Matt Tkachuk. All kidding aside, okay? It's ironic to me that he's such a hero and such a manly man, no offense intended, that he waits until half of the Boston Bruins team has game misconducts. Yeah. So the very players that would actually have a chance to beat the crap out of him are not on the ice, and he wants to go with Pasta. Okay, and Pasta, God bless him, to his credit.
Permission, by the way. Did anyone catch that?
He says he didn't, and I believe him.
But just the mere fact that he didn't have the balls to challenge someone other than Pasta, and then throws the extra punches. I mean, and I've said this before. He's talented. I would take him on my team. Yeah. I'd be a friggin' liar if I didn't say that I would take him on my team. But that type of behavior and that type of conduct, you're a dirty freaking rat.
Yeah.
I would call him a dirtier Marchand.
Well, that's what I was about to say, right? I don't remember how old. I don't remember how old he is right now, Tkachuk. But I feel like he's probably right around the age that Brad Marchand was when that conversation started coming up of like, you're a good player. What are you doing?
Stop your shit.
Then, and then it started to change, and he started to actually focus more on the game than the foolishness.
Yeah, he's 24.
I do think he's got talent.
He's young.
He's 24?
24.
With that horrible haircut?
Okay, I'm glad you brought up the
that's
haircut.
Brady.
Jeez,
Sorry.
it makes
That's
you
Brady.
look like
Tells you
I was
everything
looking
you
up the
need to know
wrong
about
one.
him.
Hold on.
Oh, the younger one. Well,
26.
26?
26, sorry.
Still, all right. That's about what I would have expected.
I warned you guys.
No,
I've had too many.
So, okay, real quick, I want your
hold on. I just to Maria's point, I agree with you 100% there. I feel like there's two types of fights. They're the ones that mean business, and then there are the ones that are performative. And the ones that are performative, where we're just going to clutch and grab and maybe shove each other a little bit and slap each other across the face because we're both of a caliber and we don't really need to be doing this.
Right.
And when that happens, that can get a team going. That can make a statement. That's whatever. When one goes down and you're like, oh no, wait, now it's for real. Like that's next level. Yeah. And I agree with you 100%, Maria. It's hilarious that he waited until everyone was off the ice to go after Pasternak. But the operative part of that is that he went after Pasternak. He didn't just go, oh, we're just going to shove each other and do whatever because I want to hit the showers too. He was like, actually, this is for real. And after he went
brought
down,
a gun to a knife fight.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this: win, lose, or draw, before this series is over, a member of the Boston Bruins needs to kick the shit out of Matt Tkachuk.
I hope it's
be it Brazeau, be it Freddie, be it Maroon. It needs to happen. You cannot allow that individual to do what he did with David Pasternak.
There better be a response. 100%.
We'll see, because he's real good at skating away. And I wonder whether or not Maroon goes after him and then it just turns into another misconduct and whatever. Yeah. But that's not to say I don't want to see it happen. Although I don't know whose ass kicked more. I don't know whether I want Cousins or Tkachuk. It's like a Sophie's choice here. What do we do?
Sophie's choice. Get them
both. Two things real quick. One,
yeah.
Freddie will not beat up Tkachuk. We know that.
No.
And two, I kind of disagree with you guys. I'm okay with Tkachuk fighting Pasta. It seemed like a mutual thing. Mm-hmm. I'm okay with Tkachuk going hard and actually fighting him. It's the punches on the ice that
I think that's what bothers me.
Yeah.
It's
when the guy
shit
goes down, you're
rat behavior.
Right.
Okay. It's and I think that's and maybe I lost that in translation.
Right. No, you were there.
That's what I need payback for.
Right.
You want to do that stuff, okay? And you want to, comport yourself and make yourself feel like the big man on campus, then you better be ready for what's coming at you, because those extra punches, that's not part of the show, dude. That was not part of the deal.
I think you could argue the first one maybe was in the process, but the second one was the one that for me was dirty and over the top. And I hate to say it, but it's that unwritten rule garbage that he did cross the line. The guy's on the ground. You don't fucking punch the guy.
Yeah.
Right.
As so in hockey rooms and bar parking lots, the rules apply.
So I'll tell you this. So I want to hear real quick, because we're basically running out of time, that I want to hear what you're going to look for at the start of the game. But for me, in keeping with this kind of theme of what we were just talking about, I think if Monty really sees what had happened there, particularly in the Pasta situation, I would love to see a choice being made by the coach, a la that Rangers Devils game where we all got to know Matt Rempe, where both coaches purposely put on the ice for the initial face off. They put those guys out there knowing it was going to set the tone. I want to see like Pat Maroon at the opening face-off, and I want to see Paul Maurice accept the challenge, because I think both of them knows. So are they going to accept the challenge and put Tkachuk out there with somebody who actually could beat his ass?
You want
for that opening face-off and let them go at it right at the drop.
All right.
That's what I want to see.
Go Mark Crawford.
That's what I want to see. So what are you guys going to look for? What do you want to see in those opening minutes?
Interesting.
Maria, what do you got?
You know what? I would love to see Pavel Zacha score a goal.
In the opening minutes?
In the opening minutes,
I'd love it too. I'll change my answer. No, what Maria said.
I just Can you do? Yeah, give me a goal in the first 5 minutes of the game.
Yep.
I don't care if it's on the power play. I don't care if it's shorthanded. I don't care how you do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Adrian?
What do you got?
Yeah.
Adrian.
I want to see, and I said this to Caroline before the show. Like this postseason is only going to end in tragedy. Like there's, we make it by Florida, we made it by Toronto. Beautiful. That's expected.
I mean, that's the law. We have to. It's
the
law.
Florida would be chef's kiss. Like we throw that off our shoulders. But what's waiting for us? New York? I'm sorry, no. And then we get past New York, and it's like any of the 4 people on the West. It's like, come on, we're just going deeper into the thorn bush as far as we go. All I really want is match the energy. Like come out, capitalize on whatever you tried to salvage, whatever statement you tried to make in the waning minutes of last night's game, and don't go out like Washington. Like push as hard as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bob is beatable. These guys are okay. You can catch them. They have a tendency to ease off on the gas when they have the lead.
And listen, they turn the puck over too. You need to capitalize on their mistakes. They turn the puck over.
They have a very fast moving dump and chase game, which gives us a shit ton of room. And it's a room we didn't have it with Toronto, but we cannot play our game unless we have room, and they are giving it to us.
Yeah.
So match the energy. Everybody get an extra couple hours of sleep and come back and get back in it, because it's now a dead even series.
Yeah, we're back to square one.
So start over and don't do that thing where you show up late and only get 2 shots. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, Jesus.
So that's what I'm looking for, and do it for as long as you can until it's done.
Yep.
Yeah.
They got to be disciplined. No more too many men on the ice penalty.
Oh my God, I was just thinking that. Jesus, if they get one more too many men on the ice penalty, what the hell?
Yeah,
that's another episode. You could fill an hour of just talking.
It didn't happen last night, did it?
I think it did. Yeah,
no, it did. No,
I thought
Caroline, you were at your book club, and they had another men on the ice.
Yeah, and it was clearly sick.
Do we agree that is sort of where the tenor of the game began to turn? I feel like that penalty was and then it was just started sliding. Yeah. It might have been right around.
I mean, they killed it off.
They killed it, but like
Jesus Christ, they've had 5 in these playoffs. This is what I heard today on the skate pod. The Bruins have had 5 too many men on the ice penalties during the playoffs, where all of the other teams combined who are still playing, all of the other teams only have 4.
Oh my God.
That's insane. But I think outside of that, we need a shot mentality. Yes. Bob is beatable high glove.
God, is he?
That's where Coyle went, and he just stood there like the Statue of Liberty, didn't do anything. And I think we almost need to shuffle the lines. Let Marchand, Coyle, Pasta start. Bring back Marchand, Pasta again. Do something. Zaka's not having anything. Zaka and Pasta, there's just nothing there. You got to bring Marchand and Pasta back. And it's just maybe have Boquist and DeBrusk play together. Bring that speed. Beecher, Boquist, DeBrusk for a line. What the hell have you got to lose? It's see what you've got and bring that different elements. You know what Florida's going to do. They're going to dump, chase, play behind the net garbage. So go after that. Let Brezzo and Maroon and maybe Van Riemsdyk play together. I don't know. Do some weird shit.
Do maybe your mad scientist thing.
Yeah, you got Geeky, you've got Freddie, you've got guys that can center, right? Maybe Maroon, Geeky, Brezzo wouldn't be a shitty line to start something. I don't know. It's got some speed. Geeky can play just try something. But they've got to be disciplined. Don't give in to Florida, because Florida might try some shit again. Don't give in to Cousins or Kachuk or Montour and their garbage, and just almost like walk away and laugh in their face. You gotta almost be the team that like pisses them off by not responding.
Exactly.
So we'll see. It's gonna be a fun game.
It is, and it's going to be a long series, I think. So we'll have lots to talk about.
Fingers crossed.
Are you going, Maria?
I'm going Friday night. Yep, my daughter and I will be at the game Friday night. So
nice.
Yeah, and so full disclosure, You're probably not going to get any valid notes from me because my intention is to pregame before I get into the building.
So. And then lose your voice.
Nice.
And then lose my voice, right.
Can we set up a call line for Maria to just dial in over the course of the evening, and we'll just play it back? Like, you know, like intermission, you can just give her hot takes.
Exactly. We got to do that.
You should hear some of the stuff that comes out of my mouth when I'm sitting in my seat in the balcony.
I want to hear it so bad.
I'm sure there's recordings for people in your section. They're like, "Oh, Maria's here. What are we gonna get now?" Yeah. We know.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So we'll be back in a couple of games. Not exactly sure when our next recording date will be, but it'll be probably after they leave Boston, would be my guess. So until then, as always, thanks, Mo. Thanks, Adrian, for coming in and covering for me.
Awesome stuff, guys. Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
We love you.
And always to Maria. So as we always love to end the pod, go Bees.
Go Bees.
Go Bruins.
Go Bees.